something that we've been modeling is this TV stand just kind of on the sidelines of these videos, and I'm just going to show you how to import a reference image to help with some of your modeling, especially for props and things like that. So you'll notice over here in this Maya file, I have some image planes with some references on there. Now I've got those from IKEA. IKEA, B&Q, websites like that are really good for finding these types of reference images just because it has the measurements, it has the kind of blueprint view similar to this that you can use, and that's really handy specifically when you hit spacebar and you're able to flick between these kind of previews of front, side, and your perspective, and you can even have them off at the top if they have one available. But you can see here that I can actually model with those kind of camera views active, and that makes it easy to line up with these images. But I'll go back to my perspective view just to kind of show you. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I have a blank grid here, nothing in the scene. You can see my outline is empty. I'm going to go into create, and we're going to look for this option here saying free image plane. Okay, and if I was to click that, I get this image here, well, this image plane, but it hasn't got an image associated to it just yet. What you will notice is in my attribute editor, this is automatically opened up when I've created this, but you can access this in your attribute editor here. You can see the little tab saying image plane shape 1, or whichever number of image planes you have. But just over here where it says image name, I can click this folder just here, and that will open up a folder full of any images I've put in my source images folder. If you haven't watched the project setup video just yet, I recommend doing that before putting in some references, just because you'll need to have them contained in that folder. Otherwise, if you move from computer to computer, they won't be in your scene anymore. Okay, so I have here a couple of images. One of them is called IKEA cabinet dimensions front, and the other one's called IKEA cabinet dimensions side. So I'm going to add the front one in first. There we go. And you can actually just duplicate that image plane there, and just with that one selected, still go into image name, but just select a different image. So I'm going to go for the side view. These images are the same height, so they line up a lot easier. And what I can do is, with this side one selected, I can just hit E to rotate, and I'm just going to rotate that 90 degrees. Just a heads up, if you hold J, these increments that you rotate snap, so it's easy to get a 90-degree angle there. And then I'm just going to hold X and snap that to the middle of the grid. Okay, so now you can see I have here what it looks like on the side, what it looks like on the front, and that will help me shape a 3D object. So something to consider here would be scale. It's really important to work with a kind of correct scaling when you're making your models. A good way that you can get this into your scene would be to go to your Windows and go to this option here saying Content Browser. And under this bipeds folder, you have a bunch of different kind of life-size human models. Okay, so if I was going to do, for example, human body just here, you can just double click that, and I have this human body. So you can see if I was to make that cabinet at this size, it would be tiny. So we're going to move this model over here. I'm going to select these image planes, and I'm just going to scale that up just by eye, kind of estimating how big that cabinet would be. Like I would say, I'll switch this view. If the bottom of the cabinet was lining up to the grid, just here in my front view, I would say that roughly it would come up to the knee of the character. Maybe a little higher, if anything, so something like this. Okay, so now that we have that scaled, and I have my human in there, it's just always good to have a human in the scene for that kind of stuff. Some things that's worth noting is there's something called X-ray mode or X-ray view that you can use. So I'm just going to get a cube in, and we're just going to scale that up. And if I switch to my cameras, you can see I can actually model with all of these in mind. So the reason why I can see through these cubes on these two views on my front and side panels is because I have X-ray mode activated, okay? And the shortcut for that is just here. So you can see if I toggle that on and off, for that particular viewport, that will make this a see-through object, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start shaping this object up so that it lines up with that object reference that we have underneath it. So you can see here, this would be roughly the scale for that. I'm just selecting my vertex points to help with this. And then you can see on this angle over here, we can make that a little bit longer. Okay, so you can see now how that cube lines up. Now, the reason why it's really cool to have it as an X-ray mode here is if I was going to use tools like multicut, for example, to get some edge loops in there, right? So if I was going to hold control, I can make sure those edge loops line up with the reference image underneath it. So like here and here, we have lines in that reference. I can do the same here to line up with here, these lines. There we go. And then I can easily just, in my vertex mode, start scaling them to match that reference. Okay, so like if I selected these here and scaled them out a little bit, I didn't actually select those vertex points above it. There we go. Okay, and now you can see how that's kind of shaping up here. Okay, that looks more like that object already. You can even use it for things like faces, right? So if I had this and I was going to extrude that with some offset, I could make sure that offset lines up with this kind of outline I have. I could extrude that again, just kind of playing with the offset there. There we go. And I could even change the thickness. You can't really see that in that view, but you can see it in my perspective. There we go. And can you see how quickly I've got an object that looks like those reference images we had if I move that away? Okay. So yeah, that's how you can use reference images and get something very quickly to build on.